Welcome to Juggling for Old Folks. Juggling is no longer just for clowns and actors. Juggling provides a workout for your brain and your body. The range of benefits include improved concentration, coordination, depth perception, balance, spatial navigation, peripheral vision, and stress relief. You can also burn up to 280 calories per hour. It's no longer just a party trick. CBS News and the New York Times reported on a new study published in the journal Nature that finds that learning to juggle may cause certain areas of your brain to grow and expand. German researchers divided 24 non-jugglers into two groups and assigned one group to practice juggling for 3 months. The scientists performed brain scans on the volunteers using magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, before and after they learned to juggle. The finding challenges conventional wisdom that the structure of the brain cannot change except through aging and disease. Previous studies have shown learning can result in changes in brain activity, but this latest study demonstrates an anatomical change as a result of learning. That is, the brain size actually expands. The type of MRI scans the researchers used allowed them to focus on structural changes rather than changes in brain activity. Using a sophisticated analysis technique called voxel-based morphology, the researchers were then able to investigate changes in brain gray matter, the area of the brain that consists mostly of the cell bodies of neurons rather than the connective fibers. The study found that volunteers who did not train to juggle showed no difference in their brain scans over the 3-month period. However, those who had acquired the skill demonstrated an increase in gray matter in 2 areas of the brain involved in visual and motor activity, the mid-temporal area and the posterior intraparietal sulcus. Scientists defined increases as a bigger volume and higher density of gray matter in those areas. While the increases in brain size appear to be due to an expansion in gray matter area, the nature of this increase is not clear. Since the study focused on gray matter, the researchers were primarily looking at changes in cells rather than their connections. Juggling boosts the connections between different parts of the brain by tweaking the architecture of the brain's white matter, a finding that could lead to new therapies for people with brain injuries. White matter describes all areas of the brain that contain mostly axons, outgrowths of nerve cells that connect different cells. It might be expected that learning a new complex task such as juggling should strengthen these connections, but previous work looking for changes in the brains of people who had learned how to juggle had only studied increases in gray matter, which contains the nerve cells' bodies. Now, Jan Schultz and his colleagues at the University of Oxford have discovered that juggling changes white matter as well. They gave 24 young men and women training packs for juggling and had them practice for half an hour a day for 6 weeks. Before and after this training period, the researchers scanned the brains of the jugglers along with those of 24 people who didn't do any juggling, using a technique called diffusion tensor imaging that reveals the structure of white matter. They found that there was no change in the brains of the non-jugglers, but the jugglers grew more white matter in a part of the parietal lobe, an area involved in connecting what we see to how we move. The same transformation was seen in all the jugglers, regardless of how well they could perform. This suggests that it's the learning process itself that is important for brain development, not how good you are. Arne May of the University Medical Center in Hamburg, Eppendorf in Germany, who led the previous work on juggling and gray matter, finds this result fascinating. It suggests that learning a skill is more important than exercising what you are good at already. The brain wants to be puzzled and learn something new, he says. Use it or lose it. So how do you learn to juggle? Step 1. Beanbags are good for beginners. Basically, find balls that will not bounce a lot or roll away when they're dropped. This will save a fair bit of running initially. You can also use a table or a chair so that you don't have to bend over as much, because you will drop the balls. A set of beanbags can be bought for a very low price or made by hand. Tennis balls filled with sand or a few pennies and covered with a round balloon also work well. They don't bounce and they provide a slip-free grip. So to begin with, keep your elbows in and just toss one ball back and forth to one hand. Try not to look at the ball. Let your peripheral vision take care of that. And you're in the juggle box, which is an imaginary little box right here in front of you. Try to get it forehead high, back and forth. Also, just practice selfies, which are just throwing and catching with just one hand, the dominant hand. The ball should come to eye height or higher. Your hand should not move very much, so aim to keep your elbows at your hips or somewhere in that area. Initially, that's a little difficult as well. This is a technique to make juggling smooth. Simply scoop or dip your hand before tossing the ball. Keep the dip shallow, though, or it isn't going to work if you scoop too deeply. Practice scooping and tossing from one hand to the other so that the arc does not rise above eye level. The next step is to take two balls, okay, and in your dominant hand you want to throw the ball up in its arc and pass the second ball underneath it as the first ball reaches its apex. Then reverse it. Again, this teaches you the scooping motion and also teaches you to shift from one hand to the other, because that will be when you do the actual cascade, which is three balls, you'll already have that motion in play. So up, under, up, under, up, under. Up, under, up, under, up, under, up, under, up, under. Okay, remember you're going to drop the balls a lot, so it would be helpful, have a table or a chair or something that's going to catch the balls for you. Also having good juggles. These are called jugs, by the way, sand-filled balls. You don't want to be using tennis balls or hard balls or anything that's going to be rolling across the living room or potentially breaking anything. Now the next step is three balls. And the first thing you do is take two in your dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, as I am, would be in your right hand. Conversely, if you're left-handed, you'd have two balls in your left hand. So you want to start with the first ball up, second ball under, and the lights are a problem. Or with your dominant hand, up, under, up, under, up, under, up, under, up, under. You get a nice rhythm going. Up, under, up, under. Okay, again, one ball. And don't expect this to happen overnight. 10 minutes a day, if you're retired like I am, 10 minutes a day is available to you. One ball, two balls, up at the apex, underneath with the second. Then reverse it. Three balls, two balls in the dominant hand, up, under, again, practice each portion of it before you move on to the next. Try one ball for a week or 2 days or whatever it takes for you to feel comfortable tossing one ball to one hand back and forth without dropping the ball. Then move to two balls, and when you feel comfortable with that, you're on to two balls in the dominant hand. In closing, juggling is truly a portable workout. You can do it anywhere. It makes you smarter. It sharpens and focuses your concentration. Juggling is the ultimate in stress relief. It's an exercise that doesn't feel like you're exercising. You can juggle where you are, no travel is required. Juggling maintains and increases range of motion in the arms and shoulders. It also improves hand speed. It improves balance. It improves depth perception and spatial navigation. It is one of the best ways to improve coordination. Juggling is beneficial for all age groups and body types. Juggling makes exercising with family and friends and grandchildren easy. So get off the sofa and learn to juggle.